Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. This meeting/hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes or amendments to the agenda?
No, I have none. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's approved. No announcements this evening?
There was a couple in the
Oh,
packet.
sorry.
We have them up on the,
Yes. First announcement, the nomination papers for the Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 Ayer annual town election are now available. The last day to request nomination papers is Friday, March 21st at 12 p.m. And the last day to submit nomination papers is Tuesday, March 25th at 5 p.m. The following offices will be on the ballot. The assessor, there's one position for a 3-year term. Board of Health, one position for a 3-year term. Commissioner of Trust Funds, one position for a 3-year term. Constable, actually, all these are for a 3-year term. One position.
Oh, except for the very last one.
There's Constable, Library Trustee, Park Commissioner, Planning Board, Regional School District Committee, Select Board, and Moderator. And then the Housing Authority has one position for a 5-year term. Nomination papers can be requested from and submitted to the Ayer Town Hall, Town Clerk's Office, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts. Important dates for the 2025 Annual Town Meeting and Annual Town Election. Town meeting will be Monday, April 28th at 7 p.m. and it will be at the Ayer Senior Regional High School Auditorium. Town election will be on May 13th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and that will take place here at Town Hall on the 2nd floor in the Great Hall. Again, last day to obtain nomination papers is Friday, March 21st at 12 p.m. and last day to submit nomination papers Tuesday, March 25th at 5 p.m. The last day to submit warrant articles to the Select Board and citizens petitions to Town Clerk's Office is Friday, March 28th at 12 p.m. Last day to register to vote, if not already registered to vote, for annual town meeting is Friday, April 18th at 5 p.m. And the last day to register to vote, if not already registered to vote, for annual town election is Friday, May 2nd at 5 p.m. The last day to request an absentee ballot by mail for annual town election is Wednesday, May 7th at 5 p.m. And the last day to request an absentee ballot in person for the annual town election is Monday, May 12th at 12 p.m.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I could just add, as we know, sometimes, especially senior citizens can't make it to town meeting because they're, don't want to drive at night. They should contact the Council of Aging to see if maybe there can be a van and pick them up or however they work that out to be able to take them to town meeting.
Great, thank you. And that's it for announcements. Okay. Anybody online or here for public input? Yes, Pauline? Oh, sorry.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
1 second, Pauline. Sorry. Go ahead.
Nope,
Come
go
on
on.
up to the table. Yeah. Sorry. If you just state your name and address.
Sure, thank you so much. Hello, good evening. My name is Christine Goulet. I'm a resident of Ayer, living at 15 Deer Run. I'm here as a citizen concerned for the use of eschars, second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides. I had sent an email to the Select Board on Thursday, February 6th, and I appreciate the response today and a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much. I missed last time for public comment, so I was making sure I was here this time. I'm just deeply troubled by the indiscriminate use of these poisons across our Commonwealth and the effects that is on our wildlife. It is killing and it is seriously impacting the health of our wildlife. For example, it reduces their ability of combating mange because it reduces their immune system to take care of something if they were to get sick like that. We see this in our state and our wildlife rehabbers when they're bringing in foxes, coyotes, skunks, moles, to hawks, to our bald eagles, to our owls. They are pretty much 100% being test positive from eschars. This is not needed. This doesn't need to happen. We can make a better choice as people to protect our wildlife. And not only that, it's our domestic animals as well have been being poisoned from these. Our children have been poisoned from these poisons. There are other ways of dealing with infestations of rodents, including such things as birth control and vitamin K. But the important thing when you have an infestation of rodents is to exclude them. Find the food source. That should be the number one thing that we do. What I see, I go to the transfer station, and to the right of the compost stations is a bait box. I just find that so unfair. Not only are the compost bins overflowing, attracting wildlife, but now we're baiting them also to the food source and now baiting them to poisons. And we have beautiful woods that are abutting right to our transfer station. In the town of Ayer, we are so fortunate to have our bear population, to have our bobcats, to have our bald eagles here. And I know that we as humans on this planet can do better and in protecting them and not indiscriminately using these poisons, which are known as second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, but also first generation as well. What these poisons do is the animal will then feed ravenously on these poisons. Then the rodent becomes very thirsty, making it very much more easily for predators to get the rodents, and then they actually bleed internally. They die a very heinous death unnecessarily. I'm happy to say that our state representative Dan Sena and state senator Eldridge are already committed co-sponsors to the bill, which has been assigned recently to the Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources. The bill is now known as House 965 and Senate Bill 644. However, I sincerely hope that the bill passes through the state legislature, but I also know that we cannot wait for 2 more years to see our animals unnecessarily dying and suffering from FGARs and SGARs. There are safer options, and I look forward. I'm speaking as my own private citizen, but I'm also recently the elected secretary of PACE. But again, I'm here on my own terms. But I do know I would have the support of fellow PACE members. But I'm reaching out because I would love to work together to come up with an integrated pest management plan, which exclusion is the first option in dealing with an rodent infestation. I know that we want to make our community a safer place for wildlife, for our children, for our pets, and to make it a better planet. As we all know, we're dealing with climate change, and then more. Yes, there are going to be more rodents. So how can we make this a better place for everyone? So I thank you for this opportunity to speak before you tonight, and I look forward to a greater conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, but I would recommend, if you haven't done so already, is also go to the Board of Health and attend their meetings under public input and tell them the same things, because they have a little bit more power on this issue than we do. Okay, but thank you for bringing this, okay?
Yes, Robert.
Mr. Chair, just to offer, and I talked to Christine via email, for your April 1st meeting, I'm going to bring forth a draft policy for your consideration regarding the SCARs as it relates to town facilities and in town buildings, which is a piece of it. Obviously not, town-wide, but it's a start. And also, as Selectman Livingston has invited Senator Eldridge and Representative Senna to come on April 1st for a legislative update, may be an opportunity to further talk about the state legislation, which we can find a copy of, and something that the board may, after reviewing, also want to write a letter of support. So more to come for April 1st.
Great, thank you. I invite you back for April 1st.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pauline?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope I didn't say that too loud. I know sometimes the speaker really kind of resonates. I just would like to touch on briefly on the subject of Zoom ability for meetings, municipal meetings. I know that the former AG and now governor's mandate is set to expire March 31st. And I appreciate that the town of Ayer has maintained the Zoom option for the entire town. I know I asked for it specifically, but it has actually augmented many board members who have not been able to be in person, and certainly those of us with certain hearing disabilities, such as myself. I simply cannot hear anything in a room of people. And I don't know where the town is going with this, but I would hope that the board would continue the practice of allowing electronic and is it called electronic or Zoom meetings online for all departments. I know some do not use it. That's their choice. But hopefully the legislature will adopt it as a universal process. But I just wanted to bring it forward because it expires before your next meeting. So if you have any thoughts or comments on it, I'd love to hear them. If not, I hope you will consider them for your next meeting. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Pauline.
I'm not giving it up.
I was going to
And
say
if
the same
they-
thing.
And if she tries to take it away from us,
Yeah.
well, I'll just add that to my list of things that she needs to come and talk to us about. And I think we know who that she is. So anyways, I'm not giving it up.
Pauline, I think even if when it expires, you have two board members that are strongly in favor of continuing to have a remote option.
So if I might just add, I don't want to put the governor on the spot here. She's in favor of continuing it, but it's up to the legislature. And we all know how government works. So if the town of Ayer is willing to continue it, that's all I can ask, and I appreciate it and thank you all.
Carly?
Yeah, just a quick update, Mr. Chair. The House did pass extension into 2027 yesterday. And the Senate will take it up, hopefully, if not Thursday, then early next week. But I think it's the legislature's intent to keep it going.
I think so too.
We just invested quite a substantial sum into this room. It's our, Robert and I's, plan to keep it moving forward because it enhances public participation, which is always a good thing.
Yep.
So.
Thank you, Pauline.
Then you have Sarah with you.
Oh, okay. Sarah?
Hello.
Hello.
So I was thinking today I was looking at old budgets. I have a 2022 budget from the town that I got at the town meeting. And I was thinking about last year, there was no physical print presentation. I would really like if the town would print up another budget and include all the salaries on it. I just think that's more transparent, it's more fair. It's easier to follow. We can ask questions before, a little bit easier when we see it on the budget. I really think this, if I could if I was there, if I could count, I would show you all 10 fingers. That's how much I really think. Um, anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is that something that's available?
So-
like, by request? Because it's more, obviously larger than
It's in the
what we.
town report every year, yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, a couple things. One is, it is in the town report every year. And then under the select board page, under contracts, are all of the non-union and union contracts or memorandum of agreements. Now, granted, some may be in the process of negotiation till complete. But we can definitely, we're planning to do a budget book again, which will be passed out at town meeting. Also, for the budget presentation, the brief one at town meeting, I can do a piece of that, a slide on that issue. And then the budget hearing that we had last Wednesday did talk about also the personnel contracts. So we can definitely continue to emphasize that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay.
Ready?
Okay, yeah, moving on. Take it over, Janice.
All right. Town of Ayer, notice of public hearing, Ayer Select Board, fiscal year 2026, water, sewer, and stormwater rates. The Ayer Select Board will be conducting an in-person and remote public hearing on Tuesday, March 18, 2025 at 6:05 p.m. The Select Board, in their legal capacity as the town's water, sewer, and stormwater commissioners, will hear the report and recommendations of the town's rate review committee, take public comments, and consider approval and adoption of the FY26 water and sewer rates. Zoom meeting ID is 978-772-8220, and call-in number is 929-205-6099. For more information, please contact ATM at air.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100.
Welcome. Dan, Kimberly?
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
I'm just gonna fiddle with this for 1 second.
Yeah, presentation.
Every time you do, it goes back to the beginning, unfortunately. All right. You know what I'm gonna do? Hold on 1 sec.
Oh, because are you doing it through the PDF? Yeah. Oh, you didn't send in the slides?
No, I told them they could use this.
Oh, okay.
Right, we're good.
All right. Good evening. Yeah, so I'm here with Kimberly, Dan Miscalvic, DPW Director, Kimberly Water and Sewer Superintendent, and going over the FY26 water, sewer, and stormwater rates that the Rate Review Committee is recommending. So on to the next slide. Agenda for today. So we'll give a brief overview of the committee makeup, the members, and the process for the Rate Review Committee undertakes. Overview of the infrastructure, the water and sewer rates, the rate model, and recommended impacts on a typical bill. And then also new this year, the stormwater utility rate and regulations. So briefly, the Rate Review Committee members, Select Board Member Janice Livingston, who's here. She's the chair. We have citizen representatives Andy Lovin and Kurt Frakowski. Bob France from the Finance Committee. Justin Lee from Nasoya. He's our SIU representative. Myself, Kimberly, and we also have Barbara Tierney, our Finance Manager. She's on Zoom tonight, and Mr. Robert Pontbriand, the Town Manager. So the goals for this evening's meeting, set the water and sewer rates for fiscal year 26, and also set the stormwater rate for fiscal year 26, and also adopt the stormwater regulations for the enterprise fund. Okay, I'll let Kimberly take over.
Sure.
So here we start with the air, DPW, water, and sewer. We do, excuse me, we're operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do treat and deliver drinking water and then collect and treat sewerage. There's a lot that goes into it, and this is just a short list of everything that we'll get into. Air water infrastructure issues is that their aging pipe. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The air water system. Sorry about that. No, you were right. It was constructed in 1895. It serves over 3,000 customers. It provides water for domestic use, commercial use, and fire protection. There's 50 miles of water main, 5 wells, 2 treatment plants, including PFAS treatment, and 2 water storage tanks. Now, next page. The air water infrastructure issues include aging pipes, dead ends, and PFAS contamination. Every year we're investing in our system. We are highly regulated. We perform hundreds of tests a year and currently meeting all state and federal water quality standards. Test results and other important information is available on our annual water quality report, which is published on our website. Water treatment restriction due to PFAS treatment. We are embarking on the Clearwell project. The construction is about to begin with a goal to be operational by the high demand summer months. And now to sewer infrastructure issue. Ultimately, we discharge to the Nashua River. There are strict water quality and quantity standards. Oh, did I do it again?
You did.
I did do it again. I apologize. Sorry about that.
We're gonna make her rehearse next time.
Yeah, thank you. So the air water system was originally constructed in 1945. There's 34 miles of gravity sewer, 3.5 miles of force main, 19 pump stations, and a water treatment plant. So the air sewer infrastructure issues is that we ultimately discharge to the Nashua River. There are strict water quality and quantity standards. Both the collection system and the treatment plant have been getting upgrades for the past several years, and we continue to invest in a phased approach so that these out of sight, out of mind, we continue to invest on these out of sight, out of mind assets. The sewer treatment plant upgrades completed to date. Here is just some of the highlights of the many, many upgrades that we've done. Next slide. So the next is the water division budget. This is just an overview of the water division budget. It includes wages, expenses, regular debt, capital purchases, indirect costs, operating reserves, and the total is on the bottom line. It shows the actual fiscal year 24, the budget of 25, and what's the proposed budget of 26. And this is really showing the same thing, but in pie form. To see that expenses and regular debt take up the majority of the slices. This is just an overview of the water division capital plan. We do look 5 years in advance and try to schedule things accordingly. Now the sewer division budget, this is the same thing as the water, but the numbers of course are different. The wages, expenses, Devon's flow, capital, regular debt, capital purchases, indirect costs, operating reserves, and the totals at the bottom. Again, it's the actuals for fiscal year 24, the budget for fiscal year 25, and the proposed budget for fiscal year 26. And again, this is just the pie form of that same thing, where regular debt takes up and expenses take up the majority of the pie. And here we have the capital sewer plan. Again, we look out 5 years to try to take phased approaches to these things. The water and sewer rate model. So all of that information that I just kind of breezed over gets plugged into the rate model and updated for, so we updated the model in fiscal year 24 with Ref Tellus. and the town, Barbara and I worked on fiscal year 25 and 26 with assistance from Raftellus. The model incorporates all of those financial forecasts, like the revenues, the rates, the capital expenditures, and operating expenditures. This next slide is for the water, and this is with no rate increases. The bars are the various expenses, and the line going across is the projected revenue. Fiscal year 23, 24, and 25 are actual, and then we get into, for the revenue, and then we get into projected. So this is what it would look like. The line on the projected revenue, which you can see is significantly lower than the expenses for fiscal year 26 in this slide. This next slide shows what it looks like with the recommended rate increases. So with this the recommendation is using using $500,000 from retained earnings and a 2% increase. And it's definitely more solvent, as you can see. The projected water reserve fund balance with no rate increases. So this is what the retained earnings fund forecast would look like with no rate increases. And you'll see that it starts getting into negative values in not too many years. And this is what it looks like with the recommended rate increase. It does start trailing off in the future years, but it definitely is a little more robust with the recommendation that we're proposing. Now this is the sewer. This is, again, we're looking at it with no rate increase. And again, the revenue line is below the expenses line for fiscal year 26. Next slide. And this is with the recommended rate increases, which is a 2.5% rate increase, and it's just more solvent. Again, we're looking at the retained earnings projection with no rate increase, and the retained earnings with the recommended rate increase. So now we're going to get into what the actual proposed water and sewer rates are and what they mean to us. In the next slide, these are the quarterly minimum proposed rates. So the proposed minimum rate, this is for people who have an active account, but they're not paying a water and sewer. Like, it's the minimum of what they'll pay. And so for water, it's $10.61, and for sewer, it's $11.31. Excuse me. The proposed water rates for a resident per 100 cubic feet, excuse me, excuse me, which is 750 gallons. We have the 3 steps. And what you're looking at is the current, the proposed, and what the increase is. And now I will say that there is a typo on this. If you can pass elementary math, like, so on step 1, it is a 6-cent increase and not a 3-cent increase. I apologize for that. So step 1 is a 6-cent increase. Step 2 is an 8-cent increase. Step 3, and the conservation rate is a 9-cent. Oh, thank you.
Best water in the common.
Oh, good. And this is for the sewer rates. This math is correct. Step 1 is a 24-cent increase. Step 2 is a 28-cent increase. And step 3 is a 32-cent increase. I'll correct the math on this as well, because on the water rates, the quarterly increase, the third one over, is actually 60 cents, and the annual increase on that is actually $2.40. Okay? So the sewer is correct, where the quarterly increase would be $2.40, and the annual increase is $9.60. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I skipped.
And so the correction needs to be made on the total
annual increase would be $12. Again, I apologize for that. Next slide, please. So this is what it comes down to, is that the rate review committee went over this. They would like the select board to vote to increase the water and sewer rates as proposed by the rate committee effectively July 1st, which is to apply $500,000 from retained earnings to increase the water rates by 2% effective July 1st, and to increase the sewer rates by 2.5% effective July 1st, 2025.
So Mr. Chair, I think
Yes.
it's important to realize when you're looking at the model, what we have found is the model will just assume that the rate increase, the rate change, let's put it that way, the rate change will be the same as it was the previous year. So that's when the committee sits down and says, okay, just because that's what we did last year doesn't mean it should apply for this year. And that's what the committee does. And so we worked hard to find a good balance that would, you know, not necessarily, I know some people it will impact in a different way, okay? But we worked hard to not create a massive impact, but still be able to achieve what needs to be achieved going forward, okay? So the graph that you're looking at next year will look a little different because of whatever the model will be on that, okay? So I think that needs to kind of be taken into account. Again, we worked very hard on public meetings and whatnot. Full board had full, deep conversations about this. We would love to, and we've done this in previous years, you know, not to have an increase. That's when PFAS happened, and we were scrambling for money. So we try not to put us into that situation, but we also try to be mindful of, you know, what a rate increase, how it can impact somebody. And I think that we did a pretty good job, all of us. So I'm pretty proud of the committee. So
Looks like it.
Right, and I'll just mention with the last slide that I have, which is the next slide, is that we have talked about evaluating the tiered program, and we looked at doing that in this fiscal year, but it would the model just isn't set up for us to do that. So the next time when it comes around for Raftellus or whoever to help us update the model, that's when we will ask them to evaluate the tiers.
Any other comments before?
no,
I don't have any questions. Any questions? Okay, no? Sure. Okay, I'll take a motion.
With that, I recommend that the select board vote to increase the water and sewer rate as proposed by the rate committee effective July 1st, 2025.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The rates are approved. Thank you.
And thank
Okay.
you.
All
Next.
right. Yep. Okay, I'll take back over. So it's stormwater. So as you know, the fall town meeting passed the Stormwater Enterprise Fund articles, and so this is the first year of implementing a rate for stormwater, as well as adopting regulations. So to start off, stormwater in brief, I basically stole this slide from the work group and all the work we did. But regulatory-wise, heavily regulated through an MS4 program, EPA and Mass DEP, the town of Ayer is. And there is actually a draft permit, and comments are due in May for a new MS4 permit, which has more stringent requirements coming up. And I'll bring that to the board when there's a better summary and a clearer picture of what that's going to involve for the town. But that's down the pipeline. As well as the infrastructure. There's a $90 million replacement value on the infrastructure the town owns for stormwater. And there's a list here of some of the assets we have. So, next slide. Some of the stormwater infrastructure issues, aging infrastructure, same thing you hear over and over in many communities. Historically here, we've had reactive repairs, little maintenance, not a lot of proactivity, a lot of Band-Aids out there, you know, some unknowns. We've done a good job of getting to know what's out there now. As I mentioned, MS4 regulations are becoming more stringent and will add a little more cost, more things for the town to do to meet regulations. And then climate change, future storms, infrastructure capacity to handle that. So challenges in the future. So getting into the,
Do you want that still? So-
nope, you
Okay,
can keep
so-
going. The stormwater utility rate and the regulations. So a little background, I mentioned there was the town meeting, but before that, the board had an advisory work group that performed extensive work and developed stormwater rate, the regulations, which also have a credit policy attached to them. And those were all drafted and presented at the fall town meeting in October. And that passed Articles 3 and 4 back in October. So that brings us to the, you can go to the next slide. So next slide is really geared on the regulations and credit policy, not so much the rate. So the board at this time, the select board hasn't adopted the regulations and credit policy that were drafted at that town meeting. So that is required, and tonight we're recommending to adopt the regulations and credit policy, which were also included in the packet tonight and were presented at the town meeting. You can go to the next slide. And then also, so the rate review committee did take a brief look, provided an update, and we do have a stormwater rate model similar to the water and sewer rate model, but they're their own file. And we looked at that and just further confirmed that the work group's $95 per equivalent residential unit rate did appear appropriate as presented to town meeting. And the rate review committee did vote to recommend the $95 rate, which is recommended for the select board to adopt tonight. So that's the end. So there's the two things, the regulations and credit policy, and then the rate of $95.
Well, first, I'll make a motion to adopt the regulations and credit policy as presented in the packet and at town meeting in October.
Second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I just want to remind everybody too, as far as the stormwater, that is part of the rate review committee. So next year it'll be discussed, just like we do with the water and sewer and everything else, all in a public setting. As far as, you know, if any changes are recommended next year. So that again is one of those that you have to look at it every year, and you have to look at it with new eyes every year, because it could be working and nothing needs to be changed, or something could have happened and we need to adjust. So I just want to kind of remind everybody about that part. So, but if there's no questions, which does not look like there is,
Oh, no, you can see everybody.
I'd like to make a motion that the select board approve the stormwater rate of $95 per ERU as presented.
Second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. It's approved. And then just a question. The stormwater credit policy, is that available just on the stormwater page once it's published?
Right now, the draft policy is published up there, so it can be looked at by everybody. But more to come on actually implementing it, and as we go forward, we'll have the formal and get it out there for the public to be able to use as if they'd like. Yeah, but it is up on the work groups webpage. It's still up there, the under stormwater.
And that being said, anything that, you know, was approved tonight that has the word draft on it, we update and put it on the website so everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's no longer a draft.
Yeah, and then we'll loop in,
360.
general code.
Yeah.
It will all get sent there as well.
Okay,
Perfect. Great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
thank you. Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll
Yes.
make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Figure out the word. I'm like, what am I doing?
All right. Is that all for you guys?
We're on the next.
Oh.
We're up next. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I want to be.
Okay.
I want to
Oh, like, why are you?
I know. I was waiting for Luke.
Same. Okay. Next up is Department of Public Works report.
Yes,
Go
thank you.
ahead.
So, we have, gone out to procurement to replace the resin in the Grove Pond treatment plant for PFAS treatment. So it is due again. It's gone out to bid. We got one responsive bidder. It is Calgon Carbon, so I'm recommending that we execute a contract with Calgon Carbon and for the amount of $207,100. And just so you're aware, the project is funded by the Army grant still.
How much was that for again?
217,100.
217,100, okay.
There's three by the board, or by the chair, I'm sorry.
And it's Calgon Carbon. Okay.
Yeah.
And that wasn't in our packet. Was it?
No.
Was it?
No. It went from public hearing to loop.
Oh,
That's why we were just like, what?
sorry
Okay,
about that.
so, who was it to?
Calgon.
Calgon Carbon.
Calgon, as
Like
in
Take Me
Calgon,
Away,
Take Me
yeah.
Away? Okay. Oh, my
Sorry
goodness.
about that.
That was so confusing. I have no questions other than
I
all the
didn't.
ones that I just asked.
Right.
So I'll make a motion that the select board vote to execute the contract for Calgon for the Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant resin media replacement in the amount of $217,100, signature by the chair.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay, great. Okay, now,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Now the one can come down.
Yes.
I'll give you these ones.
I was wondering why they were sitting there.
Save
Did I not know how to leave?
Good evening, Luke. How are you tonight?
All right, how are you all?
Hi, how are
Thank you.
you?
Thanks for having me. So the Ayer Library trustees would like to amend their act of incorporation. And so I'm bringing the information about what those amendments would entail and requesting a home rule petition be included in the town meeting warrant. So just to kind of run through the details here, I'll try and be quick. A little bit of context about the act of incorporation itself. There are three types of public libraries in Massachusetts. Town libraries established by towns, city libraries established by cities, and then association corporation libraries that are established independently as nonprofits. And that's what Ayer Library is established through an act of the legislature in 1894, set up the Board of Trustees as the governing body for the library, and that it's funded through the town of Ayer. In 1991, it was amended to allow it to function as a 501c3 more explicitly in anticipation of fundraising for the addition that was put on in 1997. And sometime in the 2010s, the nonprofit, the 501c3 lapses. And so the current status of the library is that we can fundraise, but can't offer tax relief. So there are a variety of things that we're working on changing. The first edit really is just that there is a limit on the amount of property that the trustees can maintain of $200,000. And Town Council has recommended that we remove that. Obviously, 1894 money is very different from 2025 money. But just for simplicity, removing that would allow the trustees to do more fundraising in the future for potential capital projects, renovations, things like that down the line. Yep. So the second just clarifies, and this was Town Council's recommendation, that this is just a housekeeping item, that a vote of the select board is not needed for the trustees to accept a gift or use that gift. And so it's just a minor edit there. The third edit, and apologies, there's an error in the right side of this slide, and I have different printed copies for you if you'd like to see that. It's all in the actual home rule petition explicitly. I just didn't get that edit right. But according to, the trustees have engaged council to reinstate the 501c3. And their first kind of directive was the act of incorporation and the bylaws need to agree. The bylaws have a vice president. The act of incorporation has no vice president. And so this edit just adds the vice president to the list of officers. And the edit number 4 is, really, I think, a significant move in the life of the trustees. For the 130 years that it's been in existence, there have been six of the 9 trustees are permanently seated. Initially, those were the 6 founders, and then their heirs, and ever since, every member is elected to one of those other 3 seats, and then is elevated to a permanent seat as vacancies appear. The trustees want to make this a fully democratic elected board, and so they've requested this edit. It would maintain the 3-year terms that exist for the currently elected members. It would just make all 9 be elected, and each year 3 will be on the ballot. So those are there's an additional when vacancies appear in other boards historically, there's a joint meeting of the board and the select board. This puts that same process in for the library trustees as well. So in the future, should a vacancy occur and the trustees want to fill that vacancy before the election, they would have a joint meeting with you all to appoint. And just finally, just why is it critical that we get this on this warrant and not at a later date? We've grown a lot in the last 2.5 years. We expect to continue growing. The trustees want to set up a fundraising infrastructure to, basically build up a nest egg for potential larger projects. The library is 30 years old according to the state and the state building program that provides funding for libraries. That's the 30 years is the lifespan. So we're eligible for state funds again in 2027. We do not anticipate bringing a building project to you in the near future, but obviously it would should that need arise in the next decade or so, we want to have done the work of building up a nest egg to help fund that. We're working on reinstating the 501c3. That has to happen before we can do that fundraising, and we need to reconcile the act of incorporation with the bylaws, like I said previously. And finally, just it reforms and modernizes the board. We want to make sure that this is that the library and the trustees are reflect the interests of the town to the fullest extent, and that we are ensuring that taxpayers are receiving the most significant return on their investment in the library. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Any questions?
No, I'm just chuckling that the library is only 30 years old.
Right.
the addition.
Yeah, the rest of it's invisible.
Right. Yeah.
Robert.
Mr. Chair, just to add, and Luke did a great job with the overview of the changes. So as the board will see in the draft warrant, when you get it, town council drafted the home rule petition. Luke and I presented it to the library board of trustees at their meeting on March 13th, and they voted to recommend it. When the board approves the warrant on April 1st, the home rule petition will be in the warrant. As the board knows, it's subject to approval by town meeting. The director will be prepared to make a brief presentation if asked or needed questions. Upon passage, the town will then transmit the home rule petition to the state legislature, which it has to go through that process, and then when approved, it will come back to the town and go into effect. So just for the public's benefit as sort of the mechanics to it. So, but good job, Luke.
You got
Just a mover and a shaker, so you can move on.
I can't believe that it's been 130 years and nobody's tried to raise the fundraising limit.
Right, yeah, right.
Did you see the quote? What was that?
I know.
Well, I don't
Seven
see,
and a
and
half
that's, it was
million?
on the presentation, I don't know, they definitely did fundraising for the 1997
Yeah.
edition.
And that had to be
Had to have been more than that, but it didn't, no alarm bells went off, so anyway, we just wanna eliminate it so there's no questions.
No, this is great.
Very much in
This is
favor of
great.
it, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Luke. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Luke, good job.
Next up, town manager's report.
Mr.
Robert.
Chair,
Yes.
members of the board, good evening. I'm just going to blend the administrative update with the budget and the town meeting update, as I don't have any specific action items tonight for the board. In terms of the warrants that were approved since the board last met on March 4th, those are in the packet. In terms of the administrative update, after the board meets tonight in executive session, we will have completed all of the contract negotiations. The budget, we had the budget public hearing last Wednesday. I appreciate the support of the select board and the finance committee and all the department heads at that public hearing on the budget. And that presentation will be posted on the FY26 budget page. I believe that it already is to be reviewed. And then at the select board's next meeting on April 1st, the board will review and approve the warrant, including the budget, and then it will go to be posted on April 4th, publicly sent to mailing and printing, and then arrive at households prior to April 28th when we have town meeting. And as in past years, once the board approves the warrant on April 1st, we will activate the 2025 town meeting webpage on the town's website. That'll have all of the articles as well as all of the presentations and supporting documents over the last several months as they pertain to each article. We'll also do the articles of the day, where we highlight a couple articles each day leading up to town meeting for voter information. All departments will be prepared at town meeting to answer any questions or make any presentations as requested. Both superintendents of schools, both the ASRSD and the Neshoba Valley Technical High School, both superintendents, through the moderator, are prepared to will make brief presentations on the school budget. We'll have a brief presentation on the high overview of the budget, as we always do, and we'll be prepared to have a robust town meeting, as we always do. The other piece I will be connecting with the town moderator on is a consent agenda, which we will present on April 1st to the select board, is the plan, in checking with town council. I think that this tool has worked well at the annual town meeting, where town meeting can move a series of sort of traditional articles that are non-controversial that we have sort of every year. Of course, if somebody from the floor at town meeting has a question, they have every right through the moderator to ask that question. We'll answer it. But by moving the articles, some of them by consent, we can focus, town meeting can focus the time in the debate and the discussion on the more substantive, and sometimes, though I don't think there's anything that controversial this year on those articles. So I believe that we're in good shape as we come into this final stretch leading up to town meeting. I just want to point out, so in your next packet on the 28th, when the warrant closes, in the next board packet, you, the select board, and you are the select board, you, the finance committee, boy, you, the finance committee, and the public will have the draft warrant. I did put a memo in your packet highlighting in yellow just what has changed since the last update as the warrant evolves. So just a couple of quick points. As you can see, There is the need for a brief special town meeting right before the annual town meeting. We've done this in the past for two of the enterprise funds, are going to require transfers to make the FY25 funds solvent. The water enterprise, that amount and what is driving that is under development, but we know there will be one. You'll have all that information by the 28th. The ambulance enterprise fund, the chief is recommending a transfer, as is Barbara, of $20,000 from ambulance retained earnings to balance the FY25 ambulance fund. There's been a spike in prescriptions and medication that is driving that the ambulances use. Again, it can be covered. So there's a brief special town meeting for the public's benefit. Why that is upon action of those articles, those funds become available right upon approval of town meeting, which are needed to balance the current fiscal year. Then we go to the annual town meeting, which, as the board sees, a lot of the standard articles. There are 3 articles for the 3 union contracts. As I mentioned at the budget forum, there'll be a brief presentation on the cost impacts of all 3 of those. After tonight, when the select board meets in executive session on the police sergeant contract, then all of those MOAs will be on the contract page for the public. Obviously, the omnibus budget, the 2 school articles, the enterprise fund articles, which are generally some that are put forth in the consent agenda, the capital budget requests, both the borrow and the transfer, and all departments are prepared to speak on any of the questions on those from town meeting. And I just want to point the public to the capital planning webpage right now, where you can get all of the presentations and material for those requests. And then again, some of the standard items that use transfers from free cash, which both the select board and FinCom reviewed the recommended uses of free cash at your respective meetings back in February. I do want to point out, as I go down, there are, I've confirmed with the CPC, the Community Preservation Committee, that they have 4 articles. Article 23, it's their standard article every year, as is Article 24, their transfer of funds article. There is an article for funding for the Ayer Library roof. A public hearing was conducted on March 5th by that, and that should be posted on the webpage. The replacement of the Ayer Library roof, the majority of it's going to be funded through CPC historic funds, which we are appreciative of, and a smaller balance through capital to get that project done. There's also an article from CPC to transfer further funding to the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. Also just point out, there is a new bylaw amendment article, the collection of local taxes for payment agreements. This article would authorize the town to adopt Chapter 60, Section 62A of Mass General Law, which would authorize the town treasurer, so that the town treasurer could enter into payment agreements with individuals that may have parcels in tax titles. So right now, there isn't that mechanism. This mechanism, I think, would be a helpful tool ultimately for the town and for residents to try to resolve those issues. And then, as the board is aware, Articles 28 through 32, there are 5 of the zoning bylaw articles, which the board received a presentation from the town planner on March 4th, and the planning board has conducted its public hearing on March 11th on 4 of them. And then the definitions article, it just get continued to March 25th. There were just a couple of questions the planning board wanted to resolve. Lastly, you just heard from the library director on the home rule petition. And then lastly, as of right now, there is one citizen's petition for electronic voting devices at annual town meeting and special town meeting. It was submitted by resident Sarah Withy on March 3rd of 2025. It was signed by 20 Ayer voters with all signatures certified by the town clerk on March 5th. So that will be printed as submitted in the warrant. We do not anticipate any other articles though the warrant does close on Friday, as does the deadline for citizens petitions, Friday the 28th of March at noon. So as it stands, it would be 33 articles and one citizens petition. So that concludes sort of my report for this evening, both on the budget and town meeting. If any questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer those.
I don't have any, do you?
No, that library, you know, we've had to replace the furnace so they could have heat. Now they don't want to be rained on when inside. Just saying. Better do some fundraising over there.
Pauline? Was there a hand up for this, right?
I think so, yeah.
Pauline, did you have a question?
I'm not sure a question, Mr. Chair. I saw on the Finance Committee meeting agenda for Thursday, which is 2 days from now, there's an update to capital plan. I don't know what that update might be. That's that is a question. And then the other thing I would like to share is regarding the citizen petition, which I signed. Will there be a presentation at town meeting about what exactly a citizen petition is? Because I hope we all know it's really not binding, it's just advisory.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to two questions. The first one, and not to be presumptuous, so to speak on behalf of the FinCom or the chair of the FinCom, but I believe that on their agenda, the capital update is the chair of the FinCom has asked his various representatives to provide any updates on the committees. So I think it's just a standing update from capital. I'm not aware from my perspective of any new development, but I don't want to speak for the chair of the FinCom. And the chair is here, Mr. Chair.
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Hello.
Hi. On the agendas, part of the Finance Committee's duties, if you will, is that members attend Capital Planning Committee and Rate Review Committee. So there's one member. So as a standing item in our agendas, we always have updates if there has been any Capital Planning Committee meeting or Rate Review Committee meeting. So for the last two Finance Committee meetings and then this one coming, there will actually not be anything, a Capital Planning Committee update, because there has not been any Capital Planning Committee meeting. So again, those are just standard standing items that we just keep on the agenda because that is part of our duties to have members attend those meetings. Does that answer your question, Pauline? Hello, Pauline?
I think it does.
Thank you, Kurt. That does very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And then, Mr. Chair, just to the second question about the citizens petition, I will point out that, as folks will see on the draft warrant, in the there'll be an explanatory note at the end of the citizens petition explaining what a citizens petition is and its advisory in nature. The second thing is when I meet with the moderator, at the moderator's discretion, again, he runs the meeting, but I could ask the moderator when we get to the citizens petition to emphasize that point, just to explain to the public, to the whole body, what the citizens petition is or isn't.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. There was no new business or select board member questions for this evening?
No, but I'm going to send a reminder note to Senator Eldridge and Representative Sena, and because, you know, it is on April 1st, and I just want to make a request, no April Fool's Day jokes that night.
Noted.
I'm looking at you, Chief. Okay.
All right.
So, but yeah, because, you know, and if they come back and say they can't make it, I'm going to reply back going, seriously?
Yeah.
Really? Did you just play an early April Fool's joke? But no, I unless there's an emergency, I think they'll be here.
All right. Next up is approval of meeting minutes for March 4th, 2025.
I didn't see, oops, Kurt has his hand up.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Could I just take a moment and give you an update on the FinCom warrant articles, just the dates, how we're going to do our dates on that?
Yeah,
Well, we should have done it when we were talking about the warrant.
that's okay.
So,
Is it that?
You can come up.
Okay.
It's fine.
Like, again, just a quick update, and actually Robert is aware of this, so on April 3rd, we'll have a joint meeting of the Select Board and FinCom.
April 1st.
April 1st.
Yeah.
Everything's happening on April 1st.
Mhm.
So just to, the Finance Committee will be meeting on March 27th to review the warrant articles and make their recommendations. So that will be done for the April 1st meeting.
Okay.
Just wanted to let you know we had a special meeting planned for that.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I will be there. I will be there, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, so the meeting minutes for Tuesday, March 4th, I didn't have any changes or edits.
I saw nothing to change.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that the meeting minutes from March 4th, 2025 be approved as submitted.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. They're approved.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that the Select Board move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30 Alpha, Section 21 Alpha, Exemption Number 3, Collective Bargaining Strategy, ratification of Police Superior's Contract MOA, and Exemption Number 2, Non-Union Personnel, ratification of Assistant Town Manager's Contract, and ratification of Town Manager's I said Assistant Town Manager, and then a ratification of Town Manager's contract. And that the board not reconvene into an open session, but adjourn from executive session.
Second it. Board Member Livingston?
Aye.
You're up. Chair says aye, and we are in executive session. Thank you, everybody.